everyone, and welcome to Nerfcast.
This is Josh.
And this is Shawn.
Welcome to another thrilling episode of us talking about those foam darts.
Those foam-flinging phenomenons.
That's my word.
I know, I had a phenomenon.
My word. Mine.
My God. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never seen Josh so close to the mic as he is right now.
That's true.
It's kind of a beautiful thing, really.
So, we've been sort of talking about all sorts
future foam phenomenon.
Yes. Now, we've been talking about a lot of things on the podcast, but we have not had a good speculation episode.
At least in a while. I mean, we do love speculation, but our last one was like months ago, I think.
I think so.
Yep, so we're overdue. So, Josh, what are we talking about today?
Well, we've got quite a few things in the pipeline that we have neglected to comment on. I think the biggest one for me is the Rapid Strike.
That is a very big blaster.
It is a very big blaster. People are saying it's the Elite Stampede. How would you describe it?
I feel like Elite Stampede is a pretty good identification for it. I mean, aesthetically, you look at it, and if there's any other blaster it'd bring to mind, it's the Stampede.
It's true. It's almost like the Stampede and the Strife had a baby.
Yes, and then they did like growth hormones on it, kind of like with X-23, and then it became an adult really quickly.
Exactly like that.
Wait, is that actually correct? Or was X-23 like just conceived in the 80s and she aged naturally by the time her appearance came out?
Doesn't even matter anymore.
Yes, I agree with that.
Just 52. I wish you all could see the look on Shawn's face. Just eyes burning.
The Stampede is aesthetically very similar to the Rapid Strike. What I like about it, it's got that little tactical rail on top where
handle
that you can grab onto. It's nice to run with. That's something I always feel is kind of overlooked in a lot of blasters, except for one, the deploy. It's kind of designed for that, so I mean, if it didn't have a handle, then it'd be kind of weak. But a lot of these blasters, I feel like you can only really grip on the handle. I mean, if you have giant hands like me, ladies, gentlemen, okay. With a giant handle, it's very easy to grab it, run with it, maneuver with it, which is especially nice with a big blaster like this guy.
Yeah, it really finishes off the look, in my opinion, as far as giving it that kind of AR. It has a... First, it has that rail/handle on the top.
I'm going to stop you 1 second. You said AR?
Yes.
So with Nerf terminology,
that's true.
That is an air restrictor.
That is an air restrictor. A more assault rifle look. And I know the sort of... I don't want to say the last thing we want in Nerf is for Nerf blasters to look like real guns, because that's not true. I think that most of us, if they could look more realistic or we could paint them black and get away with it, a lot of us would. But it does lend itself to a more assault rifle look. It's got tactical rails everywhere. It has that stock that goes
modulates.
In and out. Yes.
Articulating.
It's a retractable stock, so it's adjustable as far as, or at least we assume it is adjustable. We've seen pictures of it with it in and out, so it might just be either in and out, like the long shot was.
There you go.
Or it might be adjustable like the old Raider stock.
Yeah.
Don't know. It looks like it's adjustable.
I think someone opened up pictures, but I honestly wasn't looking that closely at it because with me, I either go big or go home. So basically, I'm either all the way out with it just being able to come off my body, or the stock is shortened as much as possible so I can grip it in almost like a bullpup design, but not as close as bullpup. I mean, otherwise I'd be using the Elite Raven. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, a big part of this, honestly, this blaster, the big draw everyone's excited about, it's a fully automatic blaster.
Yep.
It has been years since we've had a fully automatic disc blaster. Sorry, dart blaster. I was thinking the opposite, because we do have...
The Nitron?
I want to say it's the Nitron.
I believe is the fully automatic disc blaster. A lot of speculation is that it's going to work similarly with... since it has been confirmed that the Rapid Strike is a flywheel-designed blaster. I haven't looked too closely at the internals, but again, speculation is that the way that the circuit's going to be is that you'll be able to voltage mod both the...
Dart pusher.
Yes, the dart pushing mechanism and the flywheels themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that should lead for some interesting gameplay.
Interesting gameplay indeed. So what I find really kind of interesting about it is, of course, the flywheel design for a fully automatic blaster. So pop quiz for everyone out there who has a Raven, who has a Strife. One of the big things about getting good, consistent, maximized performance, distance, speed is being able to rev up the flywheels to a level where they're consistently spinning and going. Now, if you're rapidly firing in succession, each bullet, each dart, you're going to get decreases in performance just because the voltage is going to drop each time it grips the dart and flings it. If it's doing it especially quickly, the wheels are not having enough time to rev up, so you get darts that kind of go askew, that don't go as far. It's always better to let it rev for like a second or so before firing a dart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem I would see with a fully automatic flywheel blaster is the fact that it has a very short amount of time to get that rev back up to full speed. It has a dart pusher to kind of regulate the speed, but a lot of people are probably getting this blaster because they just want something they can spray and pray with. They want to be able to fire very quickly, not have to think about their shots, just hold down a trigger and go to town. But when you really look at it that way, how fast can it really be? And I've seen footage online and it looks pretty fast, but these are shots being taken inside like a apartment, against a door, not very far away. True. Where it's hard to really notice the blaster not getting as good a distance, not being as accurate, because at a certain distance, it's always just going to maintain. It's going to be hard to see any drop in performance.
Yeah, I think that's always been the problem with fully automatic blasters stock, straight out of the box, is that although they're fully automatic, the speed at which you can actually fire each new dart or projectile, in the case of a disc blaster, is relatively slow. If you were looking at trying to get the maximum amount of ammunition across the field, you would have better luck with a Pyragon, something with a slam fire that you can just go to town on. That tends to be faster than these stock out of the box. Now, that's not to say that these or even plunger-driven blasters can't be modded to shoot faster. They just, straight out of the box, relatively slow.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a certain advantage you get with disc blasters where the discs are going to be a lot more durable. They can withstand the abuse a lot more. If you're talking about, say, Slamfire on, hopefully soon, an Elite Alpha Trooper, on a Rampage, I'm always afraid of double feeds, bending darts, getting jams. With something like the Pyragon, it's kind of nice because you know you're not going to jam with it. It's very hard to jam.
Correct.
So that is the appeal with a full auto blaster, just because you know you're going to have some level of performance where it's always going to be firing out a dart. It's not going to be like when I play with my Strife where I shoot very quickly, hopefully timing it just right so the flywheel's up and running. But if I do go too quickly, you do get those times where you're shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you remove the dart sensor where it's just going to be like, oh, I wasn't ready to shoot these next two shots. Okay, I'm ready again. Here's a shot.
Right.
So you can sit here clicking the trigger 5 times and only getting 3 shots out of it.
No, totally agree. So aside from the fully automatic design, flywheel design, we've already talked about the stock. It does come with a clear 18-round magazine. Some people seem to be really excited about that. Really? Not a big deal to me.
Really?
Yeah, it looks cool and all. That's about it.
So I was looking around on YouTube about a year ago when there were these 2 good-looking people who just were on top of making a review for the 18-round magazine that came out.
Yeah.
Where one side was clear and the other side wasn't. And one of the complaints, one of the not as good-looking guys, but definitely good-looking guy pointed out, was that it's kind of silly that the clear side is facing outwards for right-handed people, and inwards, you can't see how many darts you have left.
Now, still agree with that. The fact that it's clear is what I'm referring to. Not the fact that I do like that it's clear on both sides. The fact that it's clear instead of orange clear doesn't make a difference to me.
So the fact that it's going with, well, to me, it looks more like kind of like the Clear series or like...
Right.
In my head, the way I look at them, it's like an Arctic-colored Game Boy Advance where it's kind of clear.
Right.
But it looks good. Realistically, on the level you just pointed out, though, I agree. It kind of is silly not to have it be, what color's orange? You could go with
I just
blue.
think orange, if you look at a picture, we'll maybe link one in the description. It looks nice, but so it's a blue blaster and having, presumably you're going to be using elite darts in it. having blue darts coming down in a clear mag means you just see a bunch of blue darts. The orange, even if it's that clearish orange, is more appealing to me and sets off the orange accents that are already in the blaster. So I would have preferred if they just went full orange, full clear 18-round magazine. That would have been awesome instead of a clear 18-round magazine.
I mean, honestly, looking at the picture now, I do kind of agree with you, just because the magazine almost looks naked.
It does.
It looks like a skeleton design where I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, that's a Photoshop. The mag isn't there. Someone just lined up a bunch of darts and put the little dart pusher on the bottom into the reclined position. Like, it doesn't look like a real magazine to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I love about it, though, is you can clearly see all the darts, and that's going to be true no matter what side you go on. But it's something where I agree. Some color wouldn't have been a bad idea. Doing, like, say, for example, a lot of the Elite Series is blue now, not orange.
Mm-hmm.
Do a light shade of blue. Make it like an Arctic GBA, where it's like a light baby blue over it, just to give it something. So when you're looking at it, you're like, this is a physical object that I can see through, like ice.
Plus, my other concern is that obviously there's no other place, at least at the moment that we know of, to get clear 18-round magazines. So you're going to have a bunch of magazines and then one 18. I would have much rather they went with either the full clear so it didn't look too different, or personally what I think is as most people are seeing this as a Stampede replacement, that they go with a really big magazine. Now, I know that the Stampede came with 3 18-round magazines that were opaque and a couple of 6s, I believe. But most people always end up using a 36 or a 25 in there. Give this thing a big drum. Why not? Right now, there's no other place in the Elite Series for you to get a drum magazine other than the 25-round teardrop shape. Make a 36 or a 35-round. That would be really cool to me.
I agree. The one issue I take with that, though, is, well, now you point out, it's brilliant. You should have a drum or high-capacity mag with this.
Mm-hmm.
25 sounds perfect. You should just re-release another 25 so that way you don't have to get a Rampage to get a 25-round drum.
Right. People could have a couple by buying different blasters, and they're still not available by themselves, so they can enjoy having more than one without buying the same blaster twice.
On the other hand, it seems like a lot of people, I've noticed it a lot less since the Elite Series darts come out, but it seems like jams were a big problem with a lot of the drums. Like the 36-round drum, when people would use those, they would get clogs, they would get double feeds, their blaster wouldn't fire properly. There were a lot of issues people were having with this blaster. Actually, that's incorrect. Not with the blaster, but the drums inside the blasters. It usually didn't matter what blaster you put the drum in, there were issues with it. Like I've mentioned, personally, I've had less issues with it because A, I don't use it as much, but B, ever since the Elite Series came out, whenever I load those darts in there, I don't know if it's because they're more durable, if they hold their shape better, they just seem to like the drum a little bit better.
Right. Also, I've heard a lot of good reviews and good feedback from our players and other players about the teardrop design of the 25-round magazine, that it seems to feed more reliably, as well as if you have it in certain blasters and you're right-handed or left-handed, you're not going to have the whole magazine being shifted to one side and making it unusable. So it would be really cool if we saw a re-release of a 36-round, but in that teardrop design where it's coming out the middle instead of one side or the other.
Yeah, the advantage with the teardrop, too, I've seen a lot of our players actually scratch or cut themselves off the 36-round drums. And I know what you're thinking. How do you cut yourself with a drum? You prime it as hard as you can with disregard to your body in the sake of performance and competition. Not saying that's good or bad. What I'm saying is just make sure you have disinfectant on you if you're one of those players.
Agreed.
A teardrop design, though, kind of solves that problem. Ergonomically, it's a lot easier to grab. It's balanced better, looks better. There's just a lot going for it. And honestly, I would almost like to see maybe a teardrop design clear like they did with this 18-round magazine. Just because the way the bullets line up, it probably would look pretty cool.
Yeah, it would definitely give it a different look. I would be more willing to accept a clear drum magazine than a clear 18. Now, not to say the clear 18s are bad. If they released the clear 18s by themselves, that would be awesome. If we found out the Rapid Strike came with like 3 clear 18s, that would also be pretty cool.
Oh, that'd be sick, actually.
But if it just comes with one by itself, it's just kind of like, thanks for giving us something that, I mean, we don't know what the retail on this is going to be right now, but I can't imagine it's going to be $20 like the Strife. It's not going to be something that's going to be super affordable for everyone. I would bet that it's going to be more closer to the price point of, say, a Hailfire or a Stampede when they first came out, in the $40, $50 range. People aren't going to be buying that for the magazine, or we're going to find a lot of them at Toys R Us where people have purchased them and swapped out the magazines because they want the clear ones, and they're just swap it out and try to return it and hope that nobody looks and they're being sneaky.
I mean, Josh and I have done the same song and dance a million times where we talk about Hasbro needing to release accessories separately. That way people don't have to buy whole blasters for it. Mm-hmm. An interesting story, like a month ago, we were talking to a guy who resells just about everything on Craigslist.
Oh, yeah.
But he had a good supply of Nerf that he was getting into. And from his perspective, he was saying Hasbro doesn't want to sell accessories by themselves just because they make more money by selling the blaster as a complete package at a higher price. Mm-hmm. The problem with his line of thought, in my opinion, is basically you are assuming that Hasbro would be dividing the parts into equal cost. Let's say you get a Strife for, I don't know, $20, depending on your market, of course. And you really want to get a magazine with, or better story, let's go back. Let's go with the Retaliator. Yes. Which comes with the stock, the barrel, the handle. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say instead of $25 for that, you could pick up the stock by itself for $15. Clearly, the blaster, the barrel, and the handle by themselves are not $10. They're worth more than that. But I bet you anything people would buy buy stocks by themselves if they could for $15, just because, from my personal experience, I don't want another blaster. I have so many blasters as it is, I have no room for them. Mm-hmm. What I want is the stock. What I want is the accessories. And I'm willing to pay more for those individual accessories than the whole blaster as a whole. And like I said, we've been through this a million times, so I feel like I don't need to tell you guys or Josh my opinion is.
No, I agree. And just because that guy had said that, and we had talked about it at length, it just seems like the thinking on Hasbro shouldn't be, well, we can either sell you a full blaster with these accessories and make money because people don't want this blaster. Well, then just either make blasters that people want, which clearly they've been doing, and B, well, if you're not selling that blaster well, but people want those accessories, you already have the molds and everything for the accessories anyway. You don't have to mold. You obviously don't make them all together at the same time. So mold them with a new paint scheme or whatever, send them out there, pretty much like they did with the Alpha Trooper when they started releasing the 18-round drum magazines before they started releasing straight 18s. People bought those things up. I mean, they couldn't keep them in at the Target that I used to go to. So clearly there's a demand for it, and it doesn't make sense. Because then if Hasbro was making something and said, hey, well, look, now you can get this stock that everybody wants and you can get it with a blaster, people might go, well, I'm going to buy the blaster because I'm getting kind of a deal instead of buying the parts individually. But then after they own the blaster and if they want another one, they have the option to buy them there.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And on some level, I agree with Josh. If they sold the regular clear magazines all by themselves, yeah, I would almost just go for them just because I like matching mags. I have so many 18-round mags, but the thing is, when I'm playing, I always want 4 or 5 of the same exact mags. Mm-hmm. That way, when I'm wearing them on my little side holder for all my magazines, 3 there, 1 in my blaster, maybe 1 more in my secondary, I want them all to be the same. I hate looking in pictures or anything like that where I'm like, this doesn't match. And maybe it's OCD of me. Maybe people in a lot of wars don't care aesthetically how they look when they're fighting, but we have photographers at our game. At our first game this season, we had 3 separate people taking video of our games. Mm-hmm. And every time I looked in there, I'm like, I see stuff I like and I see stuff I don't like. And part of playing Nerf, in my opinion, is feeling like a badass.
Yeah.
And looking like a badass.
No, I agree. And also, speaking of accessories, really quick, it looks like the front barrel on the Rapid Strike, and I believe I saw a picture of this somewhere, will accept barrels, which is kind of odd because it's already really long, but you can throw them on. If you want to make that sniper-looking, huge M16-looking blaster, you can do it now. Also, be aware, again, we'll try to link you to a picture, but the stock is not removable. It is built in. So, even though it looks really cool, can't take it off and replace it.
So what Josh is saying, that if you're normally one of those people who will go out to Toys R Us, buy a blaster, take out the stock, return it, and hope Toys R Us isn't checking, it's not going to work with this guy.
Yep.
Your plan's kind of ruined there, bucko.
Yeah, don't even bother.
One more important fact, I think. Josh, did you have anything else to say about this?
No, we already talked about the barrel. It doesn't, as far as we know, come with any other accessories. I wouldn't count them out, but they haven't released anything.
I mean, don't get confused. I don't care what you're going to say. I just want to make sure I'm right when I'm saying one last thing.
Yes.
So one last thing.
My last thing.
Yes. One more thing. Joshy! That's from Jackie Chan Adventures. I'm not just randomly being racist, by the way. So the biggest difference, there's a lot of huge differences, but besides the big difference of going from a direct plunger design to a flywheel design, the placement of the batteries and the size of the batteries. So with this blaster, the blaster I'm pointing at that you can't see, which is the Rapid Strike, they have moved the batteries from the back into the butt of the handle over to the front in a little battery tray. Small difference. The big change, in my opinion, is you're going from 6D size batteries to 4 AA size batteries. The one thing that's really hard about the Stampede, it's heavy. Mm-hmm. It's really heavy. Not that it's unwieldy or impossible for me to hold. I can hold it fine. But when you compare it to a Stripe, how lightweight it is, if you're running, if you're doing capture to flag, if you're doing anything where speed is becoming an option to help you win, the fact that 6D batteries are in that tray are going to slow you down a lot.
Yeah, this will definitely help to balance the blaster. And for those of you who actually use slings, I don't know if you've ever tried to run a Stampede on a sling, but if you try to just drop it, it's going to go butt first because it weighs way more. This will allow things to be a little bit more balanced. You can sling things, throw them on your back.
Plus, with me, I like the weight of the blaster forward just because that's where I'm lifting from. That's where my hand is, so it makes more sense for it to be a little bit heavier there. Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, obviously I know nothing about real guns or anything else really, but it seems like if the weight is in the front where your hand is does that make it easier to steady it? Because I imagine if it's so light that I would just naturally go up more and be able to lock in place. With weight, I'm going slower and naturally trying to counterbalance the weight to hold it in place.
I would say keeping it balanced would be best for your ergonomics as well as just trying to keep things straight and accurate.
But in comparison to putting it in the back of the blaster where like you might be doing it as the center point of mass against your body, like does that make sense at all? I'm asking. I don't know. If you know the answer, please rate, comment, subscribe to this video. I've been watching a lot of Game Grumps and they make fun of people who do that.
Yeah.
And yet I kind of want to do that so we get more rates, comments, and subscribes. We need more money.
Do it.
The face Josh is making right now is really scaring me. Not necessarily that his face was scary, just his eyes. There was another person's eyes in Josh's body for a second. All right, so I think, one more thing. It's easier to do a voltage mod for it if it's AA batteries because you just pick up some Trust Fires, Ultra Fires, 14500s, so to the right size, you pop them in, you're good to go. For my Stampede, I had to buy 4 of those batteries plus AA to D size converters plus the tinfoil to put into the other batteries, and the converters I could only find came from in packs of 5, so I had to buy 2 packs just to get to the 6 to do it. I mean, you can do the most common route, which is basically getting like a rechargeable battery for like a RC car or something like that and doing that. But I like things to be simple and clean and pretty looking on the inside, so that's why I went that route. So the fact that it's 4 AA size, you can put in the front, should be super easy to do a voltage mod with it. We don't know the motor, how much it'll be able to take. My guess, probably along the same lines as a Raven, an Elite Raven, maybe a little bit more than the Strife because the Strife seems like it has a slightly weaker motor. I'm sure there's some dude out there who has a mechanical engineering degree who's like, no, they're exactly the same. I tested the thermo resistors and blah, 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 blah. But in my opinion, just from what I hear from other players, that's what I've noticed. I'm expecting the same thing out of this guy because it is a rapid fire blaster and the motor is going to be worked a little bit harder. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Maybe they'll even be compatible with the motors that everybody's using to put in the Strife.
I feel stupid for saying that all so quickly because I realized that we are only about halfway through the podcast, and I could have totally milked that out for so much longer.
It's going to be a short one now. Thanks, Shawn.
No problem. But I figured we should probably move on. We're going to talk about 2 other blasters today, too. So let's move on to the Revonix 360.
Yay, discs.
Yeah.
I know nothing about this blaster.
Okay.
Prepare to talk, Shawn.
I just got done talking, too.
You took all of my points. So, the Revonix looks cool.
Please continue, Shawn.
That's all I've got.
No, I'll be honest with you. The Revonix does look like a cool blaster. I mean, when we look at disc blasters, I feel like the initial release was so underwhelming. People, at least people we play with, aren't wowed by it. Now, whenever we have new people come to our games or I watch videos from other games, there's definitely a group of people who love the disc blasters with good reason. If you look at the Pyragon, that 40-round drum in there.
That thing's awesome.
It's awesome. It's great. It works great. The blaster itself, the pump action on it's wonderful. If you want to get out as many discs as possible in a short amount of time, that is clearly the blaster of choice you want to go with. Unless there's something new being brought to the table, like the Revonix 360.
Yes, Revonix 360. So, right now, speculation is that it's going to be released in the fall. I think that is actually confirmed. Wasn't there a commercial for the Revonix? I believe it came out, said that it was going to be like $39.99. It was going to be released in the fall. Which is kind of odd that they're like, hey, we're going to give you a preview of this disc blaster that comes out in the fall, but we're not going to officially announce any of this other stuff that's coming out.
I mean, to be fair, you're right. You're exactly right. But one thing about the release date is when you go to, what was it, the New York Toy Fair that was a month or 2 ago?
Yes.
When they talked about the Rebel line and when it was going to come out, they also featured the Revonix 360. So it makes sense that they would have more of an official release date on a blaster that they're showing off in tandem with the release of this Rebel line.
Right.
Has anyone talked about the Rebel line in a while?
I feel like we did there was that big sort of breaking news, and that was it, because no real new news has come out as far as I know.
I feel like we've seen the blasters. They still look like good blasters, don't get me wrong. The one thing, if I have to attribute it to anything, is probably the whole bow design is cool until Zing bows.
Yeah, the Nerf has sort of missed the boat on that one. Zing bows is...
Miss the bow? Oh, God, I'm so frickin' funny.
We lost listeners there.
Please come back.
People just turned off. Like,
please,
nope.
If you stop listening, please rate, comment, subscribe to this video.
Oh. Jeez.
But, yeah, they kind of missed the momentum there, so... I mean, we can discuss that in a later episode. That's neither here nor there. But it's more about the Revonix 360 was one of the new blasters actually featured and discussed by Hasbro. While the first blaster we talked about today, the Revonix, is actually kind of public knowledge and acknowledged by Hasbro.
Yeah. So, single fire, slam fire, disc blaster. It's going to hold 30 discs.
Correct.
And
it shoots a varying amount of discs, depending on which reports you listen to. I think My Last Start reported 2, someone else reported 1. I think when they were on shops for a minute, they were up to 3 discs at once.
Yeah, don't know how that's going to work. Nerf Wiki says 1, don't know how accurate that is. Looks pretty cool, though. It actually has like a little chamber similar to how you would load a strong arm or a Maverick.
I thought you were going to say a real gun for a second. Similar to how you would load a revolver. There's one kind of weird thing about the chamber, though, so this is going to be hard to describe. But basically, the discs load perpendicular to the ground, which means basically the top of the disc where it says LRX or whatever is facing the same way XLR is facing the same way your chest is facing.
So basically, if you imagine how the discs are going to fire out of the barrel, which is like a Frisbee, they do not load in that same way like a Frisbee if you are holding the blaster in front of you. They load in
perpendicular at a 90-degree angle to that. So there's something inside the blaster that twists it 90 degrees and then flings it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the internals on that, because that seems like a convoluted process to do something that should be simpler. But clearly it works. I mean, Nerf's going with it, so...
I mean, clearly it works, and it works... No, those are the same thing, sorry. So clearly it works and it works well are two different things. The one advantage it has going for it, once again, it's a disc blaster. Discs are more durable. So you do have that option to say, hey, we can be a little bit rougher with the mechanics. We don't have to worry about it bending or causing double feeds. Basically twist it up, the disc will hold its shape, and then go to town however you want to. Just the way I see it, this thing has slam fire, doesn't it?
It does have slam fire. It has a handle at the bottom, similar to the Rampage
World Tour.
I don't know why we both did. Yeah, I like that game.
It's a great game. You eat people. The original zombies, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm going to stop you real quick. So I learned recently that... Sorry, this is going to be unrelated. No, it's about humans versus zombies. There we go. I tied it in. So apparently, who out there loves zombie stuff? Shawn does. I think Josh does too on some level, but I love zombies. Now, one of the big zombie movies to first come out was Night of the Living Dead. It's a classic, one of the first movies to have like a black protagonist. That was really big. It was the first to kind of identify that in a zombie apocalypse, it's not necessarily the threat of zombies, but the people and how they act without rules that kind of screws them over. Now, 9 years before this comes out, there was a series you might have heard of called The Smurfs.
Les Smurfs Noirs.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Josh knows the story I'm about to tell.
I know this because my brother, but continue.
So basically, what happens in this one Smurf stories is there's a black Smurf who is filled with negative energy. He's just mad. And he runs around, and the way he infects other Smurfs is by biting them. So they keep biting them, and they keep spreading like wildfire as they become these horrible, not disfigured, but this colored version of the normal, very natural-acting Smurfs. They are zombies. 9 years before Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to share that because I think that's an amazing story, and I love the Smurfs.
I feel like zombies had already existed. There just weren't zombie movies.
Zombies in the way that they are viewed nowadays, there were zombies in a lot of older black and white films and other films. They were mostly kind of more about hexes and so
like
on.
African hoodoo and
it was whatnot. It was a lot also in kind of like the tropics areas like Bermuda and stuff like that. Witch doctors, Caribbean. That's what I'm looking for.
Right, because at that point they were just reanimated corpses, and there was less about infecting people and viruses.
Even Scrooge McDuck, he had a zombie that followed him around.
Yes, he did.
And that was more what the typical zombies were like back in the day before.
Night of the Living Dead, George Romero.
Yeah, Romero came out and started kind of reimagining this.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, so with the Revonix...
So if you get in trouble for playing HVZ, just tell them it's HVS.
Humans versus Smurfs.
Yep. There we go.
Play the music, Josh. Do 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 do. I mean, this is honestly what we have to say about the Revonix. It's another disc blaster. It's an interesting design. If it's multi-shot madness where it's shooting 2 to 3 discs, I mean, that's pretty cool. But in the end, I'm just failing to see the appeal over a Pyragon besides aesthetically how it looks. Because it is a cool-looking blaster, but It
might be a little less, or a little more wieldy, so a little less unwieldy. That's like a double negative and sounded really weird. Mm-hmm. But the Paragon, because it has this really large 40-round drum, is kind of might be hard for people to hold, whereas because all the discs are centralized, it might be a little bit more well-balanced. Won't know until it comes out, and you're kind of sacrificing 10 discs, but I've already seen a ton of people make their own straight, like 30 or 40-round disc magazines just using clear... I assume it's PETG pipe, but they might... I don't know what they're using.
It's a little bit bigger than PETG.
Well, I think you can get PETG in multiple sizes.
Really? Where do you go to buy PETG?
The internet.
Exactly. So you can get anything in any size on the internet, but...
Well, yes.
Yeah, so...
Regardless, I've seen people make straight mags instead of using giant drums that have this whole flip system. For those of you that have used the Paragon, you'll know what I'm talking about. Those of you that haven't, you're lost right now. But you put like 10 discs in, and there's a little like switch that you hit that moves that over, and then it accepts more discs.
If you are lost about what Josh is talking about, please rate, comment, and subscribe to this video. In the comments, I will answer and link pictures to what Josh is speaking about.
Yes, that will happen. So there's that.
I mean, yeah, you do kind of sacrifice
It also
something.
has flames on it.
Cool, that means it goes like faster.
Yeah. Really pushes the discs out. It does have a spot, as most of the Vortex blasters do, for stock attachments.
Oh, that's good.
If you want to do that.
Yay.
Woo.
Buy a stock. Well, except here's the problem with that. It has a cool white and orange flame design. Why not get a white and orange stock made with it? I'm telling you, Hasbro has to be. No, I'm not going to get into it. I just talked about zombies for like 5 minutes so we can avoid my rants about marketing and Hasbro designs and all that kind of stuff. So, Revonix, you lose the magazine design. Could be good, could be bad. Might make it easier to wield, might make it easier to actually shoot discs out. I don't know, the Pyragon seems like it does a fine job. It seems like this is trying to be more of a Pyragon replacement when it doesn't have to be replaced.
Agreed.
Yes, indeed. I mean, maybe there's more stuff coming out, but like Josh mentioned, I'd rather have those fucking, excuse my language, those freaking big magazines that hold a bunch of this and you just hold the blaster upside down.
Dude, yeah, those things, we've seen some pretty wicked mods with those where you have, what is the Nitron, I believe is what we were talking about, where they voltage modded it. I'll see if I can find the YouTube and link it either on the blog or on this post, where he's got 2 of them that are put together with one trigger mech and has just these giant tubes of like 30 or 40 discs, and they're firing just ridiculously, I don't remember the rate, it's like so many per second discs, and it's just brrr, and that's the noise it makes. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
So much.
When I see stuff like that, I'm like, we need one of those at our game.
One of those.
Just one, because one guy would roll out and be like, frickin' in the background, like, nah, 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 nah. I blast a disc with my hand.
Yeah. That's how the song goes, right?
No, the song goes, I am Iron Man.
Yeah.
I blast the bad guys with my hand.
Yeah.
I went to Afghanistan. Yeah. Built this in a cave. Now I'm Iron Man.
Woo! Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you covered.
That's coming out soon.
Oh, yeah, that's coming out.
Here's a tip, Hasbro. Make an Iron Man blaster.
Yeah, what's with that? I keep seeing all these, like, Iron Man, here's a helmet, and it shoots little discs out, but they're not foam. But it says from the creators of Nerf. Also, here's a repulsor blaster that also shoots little plastic discs out that are not foam. From the creators of Nerf. Stop it! Just make Nerf blasters!
You know what it is? The original creators of Nerf from, like, decades ago were like, I'm gonna make a new blaster, and you can tell them it's from the creators of Nerf. Now I need to change my bedpan because I just made a nothing because it wasn't Nerf.
I wish you all could see Shawn's old man face because it's awesome.
I was in the war. It was humans versus zombies, and I had a bandana.
Ooh, so
bandana.
So our last blaster that we haven't talked about. Well, we actually have talked about it a little bit.
Wait, can I introduce it? So you might recognize this blaster from the hit British television series Doctor Who. It was dating one of the characters named Amelia Pond, and she got stuck in a box. I don't even remember how this goes down. She gets stuck in a box. Oh, wait, I can't say spoilers. So there you go. She's in a box. That's all you get to know about it. And then there's a Centurion involved.
So everyone's going to buy this blaster and name it Rory.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Glad we got that out of the way.
What's Rory's last name?
Pond.
It is now.
We know that it was legally changed.
Yep. I like Rory.
Mr. and Mrs. Pond.
Yes.
We know which one the Mrs. is.
Yes. The doctor.
Pretty much, yes.
Yes. So the Centurion. invokes the imagery of a Roman gladiator. A gladiator is different from a centurion, a warrior, if you will, that is made out of money. That's why it's called the Centurion. I'm just waiting for some English major like, no, Shawn, that's not how that works. A cent in the money vernacular is referring to that there are 100 pennies or cents in a dollar, which adds up to a centennial number.
Is it called the Centurion because it gets mega distance of 100 feet?
Well, it is true that mega is Latin for awesome. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
So, we're pretty sure you've hopefully all seen this by now. There's sort of been pictures floating around the web for days. People are sort of saying it is going to be the elite long shot.
Which is good, because we just got an elite stampede. So we're working backwards.
Now we need elite long strike.
Yes.
Because honestly, the long strike looked way cooler than the long shot.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I know people out there be like, no, the long shot is the best blaster, Josh. It is the pinnacle of Nerf technology. But no.
I'm happy because I realized what Josh was doing the voice for. In 3D. It's like I can touch you.
So
I will link that in the video. We're going to have a 10-minute pause where it's just, welcome to the intermission show. Yay! Oh, blah, blah.
So what do we know about the Mega Centurion is that it is mega. It is very long. It has what looks like, it may be a built-in bipod. It may be a bipod that you can take off. We're not certain. There have been various claims. Some people have actually seen this in person, but as we know, Nerf tends to make changes before the final product.
Nerf silences those who know too much.
That is the truth.
It's why My Last Start doesn't have a podcast. Because he will speak the truth, and they will cut their. I assume America protects us better than the UK. I mean, we got so many guns, right?
Oh boy.
Hi, My Last Start.
We love you.
If you're not saying hi back to the screen right now, I'm mad at you.
Yeah. So, it's supposed to fire mega distance, which is 100 feet.
Is it 100 feet or 100 plus feet?
It says 100 feet on the box.
Which is still good because, I mean, the Elite Series right now is posting 75 feet. So that is a 33% increase.
Yeah. That's, significant. The question is, on the side of the box, it says N-Strike Mega Series. But it still has the branding for the N-Strike Elite with the N-Strike Elite logo on it. So is Mega going to be an entire series? Are they just going to do this blaster and test the waters? It seems like they've had this in production for a while, so they must have already decided if they were going to go with an entire line or not. Now, the reason that that's a big deal is because it's using a different size dart.
Blasphemy! I thought there was only one size dart, the Streamline, as God created when he made a boat full of animals that worked in a workshop at Christmas time.
That's how that happened.
And then there was enough darts for 8 nights.
I like how you pulled that out there.
Yep. I've read my old Bible. And by read the old Bible, I mean I watched the television series of the Bible where they had centurions in it. Boom! Turned it around.
You got that.
Nobody saw that loop coming.
I'm proud of you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks interesting. We don't know what's going to be detachable and not. It has a really long barrel.
Yeah.
Which gives it a look and feel of the long shot.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if they had a front barrel you could actually take off, because we all know how that hindered range.
Oh, yes. That is kind of awesome. What trips me out about it, because I haven't given a genuine opinion in the past 15 minutes.
That's true.
Is the idea that they are using different darts. That's huge. That's ginormous. And I'm not referring to the size of the darts, which is a lot bigger. Mm-hmm. But it means basically if you have all these clip system blasters that Nerf has been doing a wonderful stand-up job of promoting throughout the years. Like, don't get me wrong, I maybe talk bad about Hasbro sometime, but that's because they make a lot of really good decisions too. Going with magazines to load your ammo into, brilliant. Brings a lot of people in where you can just do a quick swap and have 18 rounds ready to go. No fuss, no waiting, just good. Mm-hmm. Now with this guy, what you're proposing is we're going to come out with a new line with better distances. It's kind of like saying we can't not trend the market towards this. Because maybe kids won't care because they're just playing around and they won't be running around with huge blasters like the adults and teenagers and college-age students will. But for us, when you say there's a blaster that goes 100 feet and here's another blaster that goes 75 feet, naturally you're going to go, oh, I'll get the one that shoots 100 feet, which in turn can obsolete everything on the market right now.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
I mean, especially when you consider all the money in pushing this forward. I mean, this was a leaked blaster. True. Let's be honest here. It wasn't like the Revonix where they announced it, that made it appear at a toy show. This was information that was put on the net, taken off the net, came back up, started leaking left and right. This blaster, I feel like, is supposed to be a year away, if not longer than that. I feel like from what we've been hinted at so far on the pipeline, Nerf has a long way to go before they would even like imply this blaster is going to come out. Agreed. But it is, and I mean, I can't guarantee, of course, but when we look at how soon it looks like the Rapid Strike is going to come out, the same conditions, the same information, the way it's leaking out, it's very easy to project that it could be out as early as the summer, like June or July.
Yeah.
Now, anyone listening to this podcast, if I'm wrong, then I'm sorry, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if you see it then, in my opinion, just based on what I've seen other release dates done by Nerf. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It just trips me out.
Nah, it's just, it seems really strange. Even if they were going to release it, say, next year, the idea that they've just started this Elite line and they introduced Elite darts, so everyone has gone out now, and after years of having just stock streamlines, is finally able to start buying 18-round magazines, which we've been wanting for years. We have Elite darts, which fly a little bit further. We have these Elite blasters that are going 75 feet. And even if next year they release this blaster and everything, they release an entire line where they're like, cool, we want everyone to start using mega darts, and mega darts are bigger, and the magazines are larger, and all the blasters are red, and the darts are red. Cool, great branding, love it all, except for the fact that you gave us a year with Elite stuff. I mean, yeah, you can take into account that at the end of last season for us, we started getting Elite blasters, but we really couldn't use them until this year. I remember me and Shawn picked them up, and we were testing them out like at home and things, but we were like, we can't wait to use these in a game. So it just really seems strange that they would hinder their own sales by releasing this soon. And I mean, yeah, it was leaked, like Shawn was saying, so maybe it's more than a year down the road, but we have talked to people who have had, seen this in person, so there are at least working prototypes. It just seems amazing they would even have had these in a place where people could have seen them, touched them, interacted with them if they were 2+ years away.
Yeah, I agree with that. But let's focus on how Hasbro's probably seeing it. They might see it as they're cutting into their sales by saying, hey, all the money you're spending on this, it's been wasted, now buy new stuff. In their heads, they're probably looking at it as, you know what, all the people who have all their gear, we're giving them a reason to upgrade. And it is an upgrade. They are moving on to a better blaster. My problem is basically what you're proposing in this new Elite Mega series is either A, is a very limited release, so there's only going to be a small handful of blasters that will be utilizing these and getting these great distances. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, what you'd have to propose is say every blaster we've come out with in the Elite series so far, we have to remake it again.
Right.
But this time being able to handle the size of a mega magazine with mega darts in it.
Correct.
Which maybe it's hard to tell where they're going with it because people are going to want better performance. Not everyone used the long shot just because it was a huge direct plunger system and it worked. It wasn't necessarily that they liked the aesthetic. It was just the top performing blaster at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're talking about this guy, of course, people are going to get it because of the distance, but they're going to start sitting there and saying, hey, how can I get my Strife to run these mega darts? Because there's a couple of clear ways why Mega Darts work better. They're bigger. The weight's probably better. It's more like a slug. It's not going to fishtail as easily. Mm-hmm. It's going to be stable. It's probably not going to bend as easily either. There are a lot of pluses with going with a larger sized dart, which make it clear. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if 75 to 90% of the performance gains you're seeing with this are just because you're using a better dart that isn't going to get shredded easily, that can handle more force, and can go the distance it needs to go. The blaster itself probably doesn't do much to modify that. Heck, I mean, the rumors say it has full auto, semi-auto, regular pump action. This is all speculation, by the way.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
It's all over the place. But if it's a semi or full auto, I mean, we've seen we can do that with flywheels. All you have to do is space out the flywheels a little bit, and it can accommodate these darts. Mm-hmm. There should be a way you can mod blasters to basically take this ammo. It's just modifying the clip to feed into it.
Correct.
Which modders are going to want to do. And Hasbro does listen to modders. That's where they come up with their designs, basically saying, how can we make it so a modder doesn't want to mod? Which isn't a bad thing. They're saying, we want to do the work for you, so it's safe, it's fun, and it's easy. There's no shame in that. But when this Centurion comes out, whenever it comes out, people are going to look at the old stuff and say, I want that performance with this style blaster.
Yeah.
So it makes it really hard, because I feel like right now in the game, in the meta, if that's what you want to call it, there are a wide range of blasters that are all functional, can perform well. You don't have to feel ham-fisted into getting a Retaliator or Rampage. Heck, everyone loves a Strife, but you don't have to use a Strife. I see people run out with rough cuts and put in work with them.
No, definitely.
Like, it doesn't matter what you use, as long as you're having fun with it. But this, from a competitive standpoint, you're now saying this is going to be the blaster to use, and you're going to lose all the diversity you had.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think what we have to just wait and see is obviously they're coming out with a series. There's going to be more than one blaster that uses this ammo type because it says Mega Series on it, not just Mega Darts. Like, this takes Megas, which is fine, and I understand because it needs to happen for them to get better ranges and all that. Does all of the Mega Series, do they start making smaller blasters, more compact blasters, or is everything going to be large, quote-unquote, sniper weapons where all the blasters are going to be big and not so much super unwieldy, but more geared towards having bipods and taking those shots from long distances? If they did, it would be really interesting because you'd see that split where people either have modded old blasters, and I don't know how possible this will be, but modded old blasters to shoot Mega Darts, or there's just going to be a split where people are using one or the other, and you're just going to have to run two different types of ammo in games.
That is a possibility. I mean, when you talk about Nerf, I think a lot of the ideology that goes with it, it's like a video game. Mm-hmm. A lot of video games nowadays, if you look at Call of Duty, Borderlands, when you have different blasters, you have different ammo for them. You don't have one reserve you go with. Yeah. It's different ammo types. It's just, in a video game, it's very easy to carry multiple blasters with different purposes. You don't even see where the ammo is kept on individuals most of the time. Yeah. Aesthetically, from a certain point of view, if you do want to run a Strife as a quick semi-auto blaster and the Centurion is like, I'm going to step back and do some work, then you're not going to have one set of magazine holders. You're going to be now running two. Correct. Or I guess you can get an attack vest that'll adjust the size. But let's say you have a dump pouch where you drop your ammo, which I know I have one, Josh has one. Yeah. I think a third of our players all run some sort of dump pouch just to drop their ammo into. Mm-hmm. That now you're going to be mixing mega-sized darts and regular or elite streamlined darts all into the same reservoir. Right. Which makes it annoying very to grab, refill. Oh, nope, this is wrong. Let me fumble around and do this.
And I think that sort of a thing will lead players to choose sort of one or the other. Either it'll guide them towards whatever role they want to pursue in their game. So it's kind of like disc blasters. If people are running disc blasters, they're generally also not running a Strife. They're just like, I'm going to go all discs this game, and that's going to be it. That way, if I pick up discs, I can put discs in my pouch, I can reload, etc., etc.
And I think that's what the real shame is, because when you have a majority of player using streamlined darts or whatever type of ammo, the natural flow of the game is going to be to gravitate towards blasters that use that. Mm-hmm. I think one of the reasons I personally don't see a lot of disc blasters is because they're the minority. You can't scavenge other darts on the field and just return them afterwards. You're like, no. you have to find your ammo, and you are using it, and no one's going to pick it up for you at the end of a round and hand it to you because they're like, hey, this isn't mine. I'll pick up other darts and hand them to the right people at the end of the game, but this, I know they're never going to be mine.
Right, and if you ever play any games in which it starts to become a war of attrition, if you are fighting, like we do a lot of capture the flag, and if people are firing on one side, there's back and forth, so there's ammo on both sides. Well, if you're the only person with a disc blaster, you are firing at the enemy, then all of your discs are over there. So you're not going to just be able to sit back behind enemy, or not behind enemy lines, but back behind in your base and pick up ammo that they've been firing back at you because no one else is using that. Same thing will be true for the Mega. And like Shawn was saying, I think that's the reason why we see so few disc blasters, is just because it's the ease of access to using the Elite Streamlines right now.
Yeah, it's a nice, easy edge to keep the battle going, honestly. Mm-hmm. Because, honestly, there are a lot of Nerf games. I think it's kind of an understood rule that mark your ammo, make sure you know what's yours. At the end of the day, return it, be respectful to the bullets, but use what you find on the field.
Yeah, no, totally. And I question what will be compatible on this blaster at all. I'm just looking at the picture that was leaked. I don't even see tactical rails on this guy. And this is supposedly box art, which maybe it was just a test run. They haven't decided things yet. But I'm not seeing any sort of tactical rails or anything that shows it as being compatible with older N-Strike or N-Strike Elite anything. There's no place for a stock because it has a stock that's built in. It's hard to tell from here. It looks like it's similar to the way the old Longshot stock used to be, but it might be something that's completely different. But it does look like it has one that's built in, and from the picture, you can't really tell if it's detachable or not. Definitely doesn't look like there's anything detachable as far as a front barrel goes. And if there are no tactical rails, which it's really tough to tell from here if there are, it just seems like on the sides, Nerf has a pretty common, practice of putting just random tactical rails in places so that people can put scopes or lights or whatever, because it's cool. Even on the Rapid Strike, there are tactical rails on the sides. They're short, like they were on the Stampede, but they're on the sides and the top and things like that.
Yeah, and Josh and my ongoing theory is that Hasbro is smart, and they probably are coming out with accessories on the side. There's no way they can ignore this. It's just a matter of when it happens. Mm-hmm. But when you see stuff like this right here where there are no tack rails, it seems like they're almost saying, you know what, it's just too much work.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be that it happens to be this blaster is just not going to have stuff like that. It doesn't make sense that Nerf would just out and out say, hey, we have this compatibility with our N-Strike, N-Strike Elite, Super Soaker, and our Vortex line. Yeah, we're going to cut all of that as soon as we make the Mega line. Because they're still branding it under the N-Strike Elite. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. It's just something to note.
The one thing I'm thinking, though, with the whole Mega style is, I mean, we just came out with Multi-Shot Madness, where there are a couple blasters that shoot two things. And it's kind of similar packaging where they just slap something on there that says Multi-Shot Madness. So maybe it is that this Mega Centurion is just a one-off. Or one of a very small, select handful of blasters.
It's possible.
But like I said, it's like a video game, a card game, whatever you like to play. The meta will always dictate what's the best. So then if you have one blaster that's clearly better than the rest, people are going to run two things, that blaster and whatever beats that blaster. You get the meta, which is common, and then the anti-meta, which is able to trump that.
Exactly. And we have talked to people who have been in talks with Hasbro that have said things like, oh, the N-Strike Elite ranges are going to be the old ranges, which, makes us think that the Mega will sort of start to be the new 100 feet will be the new standard.
I mean, the market will naturally select. They'll see this blaster sell really well, and there'll be, oh, we need to make more of this. So even if they aren't designing more, you can bet after it sells, and it sells like hotcakes, then yeah, they'll start making more blasters.
Yeah, and I mean, we always know that with Nerf, it's geared towards having the greatest distance possible, and still obviously being safe and things like that. But if you always have something that gets better distances, that design is going to probably sell better. Now, I don't want to say 100% of the time, like, it could function terribly and people might not buy it because it's junk, but the idea of getting better ranges is always positive. And I'm sure that's always the forefront of Hasbro's mind, is how do we get better ranges and continue to allow people to have fun.
Yeah, so on that note, I believe that's the 3 blasters you wanted to cover. Josh, are there any departing notes you want to imbibe on us?
Alpha Trooper comes out soon. Woo!
Yeah, so that's the one blaster we didn't mention because I think we've talked about it in the past enough. Yeah. We're excited about it. It should be sometime this March. Basic Nerf just dropped a story where you can look on Target.com and actually see the blaster is on there. Yeah. Check out Basic Nerf's blog for more details on that.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, I pray it's out soon because we have a game coming up, and I really want to run that. I'm getting tired of running the Strife. I love the Strife, but I want a good old-fashioned plunger system blaster with slam fire that works great.
I can't wait.
And if I'm pissed off about it, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, other than that, check us out. I know last time we talked about it, but aside from BayAreaNerf.com, our blog, we have created both a Facebook and a Twitter account for Nerfcast. So if you want to look for us there, or if you want to hit us up on Bay Area Nerf because you already are subscribed to us or whatever through that, feel free. We have like a million ways of getting a hold of us. We have an email now, nerfcastjs@gmail.com. NerfcastJS is also our accounts everywhere, so on Twitter and things like that.
And you never know which one of us you'll be talking to. It's part of the fun. It's like a coin flip.
Yes, indeed.
And on a final note, we do have a game by Bay Area Urban Recreational Nerf that's popping up next week on the 11th. So if you're in the Bay Area, South Bay Area, feel free to come to that. What we'll also be doing on the 1st of the month now, I will personally be looking around at all the games in the area and trying to advertise them, do one big mega post that just for anyone in the Bay Area wanting to get more information on where to play, it can be a one-stop shop to say, hey, this month I can see all the events that are going on. If you run a Nerf event in the Bay Area and want to get some more recognition or attention, feel free just to email us or let us know. Once again, BayAreaNerf@gmail.com.
Yeah, we do have a calendar on the site, so we can, potentially give you guys access, allow you to post events, edit events, things like that.
Yeah, it's a great way to get your name out there, to get your game out there, because we definitely want to see more games out there. I know that there's a couple being run by a couple of our friends. We'll definitely drop their names in the blog post, but just a couple like in San Francisco. I know there's Connor, there's Nathaniel, I think, running the HVZ SVU or SV Humans versus Zombies, San Francisco State University.
There you go.
That acronym's too hard. Connor runs some tactical op games and some Humans versus Zombie games in San Francisco as well. Up in El Cerrito, there's a Bridges Rock Gym. It's a bouldering gym where they do a couple events. They'll have a couple this month as well. On top of that, I know UC Santa Cruz runs a couple games as well. If I'm missing anyone, I'm sorry. Just feel free to ping me. I'll add you onto the post just to get your game and your name out there.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, let us know what you guys think of the new blasters, what you're looking forward to, what you are not so excited about, stuff like that.
Yeah, tell us, which of the 3 blasters are you looking the most forward to? Which one are you looking the least forward to? I think I'm more interested in that personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that note, this is Shawn.
And this is Josh.
Happy nerfing.
Cue the music.
It's like a slowed down version. I'm going to go ahead and play the real music now.
Oh, play the Mario music like it's at the end and you're running out of time.
We don't have a copyright for that. So.
Damn it, Nintendo. All right.
Peace out.
Later.